I gotta tell you, this is something I've disclosed to you in the past. That every so often, when watching a movie for the podcast, a movie that we're going to review, there will be a moment or two in the film where I come to the conclusion, oh, Pete's not going to like this movie. However, and that happens, I mean, I'm not going to say it's frequent, but it happens, right? It's happened enough times that, you know, it's a feeling I'm familiar with. However.
And I think that, just as a side note, it feels like I was scrolling through some of our recent votes and the winners recently, and more, like the body of evidence is like, is it just like every vote that Peter would dislike is winning? Because I feel like more and more it must be happening where you're sitting on your couch going, oh, Pete's going to hate insert blank about what's
I like to think
right
that right now people, listeners of the show, are pining and waiting to hear your response to The Exorcist. But I will say this is probably the first time where instead of simply having the, oh, Pete's not going to like this reaction, there was a moment or two during this film where I was like, ah, shit. where I was just like, oh, this is going to be potentially a extremely, like, there's films that you don't like because, you know, it's like Drop Dead Fred or whatever. And I was like, oh, Pete's going to, you know, like, Pete's not going to enjoy this. It is what it is. This is no big deal. But, like, you know, that'll be the dynamic of the review is Pete's not going to like this. And I'm going to talk about why it's super great. And this is, I think this was the first time where I was like, should I do a wellness check? Like, do I need, like, you know, like, there was a moment where after I finished watching it, I thought I would get a message from you saying, hey, you know what? I watched it, or I watched half of it. I think we should consider not doing this episode. Or like something like that. It hasn't happened. We're here. We're actually going to talk about it. I'm very excited to do so. I'm walking. I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, my assumption is you didn't like it. I can say for certain I feel like there are moments that made you very uncomfortable, moments that you didn't like, and it'll be fun and exciting to unpack those. But I'm walking into this like I don't know where this is gonna go, and that's exciting for me. So hello and welcome.
Welcome to the Movie Man podcast. I am Peter, the eerily silent co-host, and my happy co-host is Brady. And we're here for a seasonal vote result. What movie are we here to review, Brady?
It's The Exorcist. It is the 1973, the film that changed it all, which I'm sure we will talk about. The Exorcist.
So, a couple things here. I'm going to peel the curtain back. I had a moment.
Okay.
Where, you know, if sometimes you go, did I forget to turn the oven off when you go to school?
For me, the answer is usually yes.
Did I forget to lock the door when I went on vacation for 6 weeks? Right. And I had one of those moments literally about 15 minutes ago. And let me peel the curtain back a little bit. This is the first time our bread and butter in this show is voting. We make our guests, I almost said guests, our listener vote for what we review. And we've got the Patreon vote for bonus support. We've got the common vote. And this was the first time I never did a tally. It was just like there was literally
there was no need.
There was no point. Like there was just the Patreon vote alone. Like I just saw them rolling in and I'm like, okay, we would need like 600 people to vote for concisely something, you know, like collectively for something else.
Unanimously something else, yeah.
To be even close. Plus then the popular vote. So like for the first time ever, I'm like, there's literally no point.
Yeah.
In me doing this.
There was like 1 or 2 votes.
There was.
For other things.
There was. But like for the first time, like it wasn't even like I guess for like the type A of me, I should have done it just to like see how far away it was. But like I'm talking like there like
it was no photo finish.
I can't put a metaphor on how not close it was.
Yeah. And
so anyway, typically what I use that when I do the tally is like the confirmation with you. It's like, okay, when we do a vote, it's like, okay, Cars won, beat out all these other movies, so we're going to watch Cars.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. Check on in. And because we didn't do that, I had this like moment of terror 15 minutes ago.
Did I watch the wrong movie?
Like, I was like, did I watch the wrong movie? And I was like, I never actually confirmed, like, was it the one? I'm pretty sure the one from the 70s was the one, but I know there was like Pope's Exorcism or some crap. Like, it was just like, I had this moment of like, wait, did I just like accidentally attribute the wrong winner? And A, won't be able to actually do a movie review with you, but B, then sat through 2 hours of this crap for like no specific purpose.
Okay. So a couple things out of that. One is... You just define the film of this crap. So you're maybe showing your hand a little bit here.
I actually... yeah.
So we'll see how that unfolds. The other thing is, like, and then normally, like, you know, I post the vote and then I wait a couple of days, and within enough time for there to still be a window for me to watch the film before we have to sit down and review it, you let me know what the winner was, and then whatever the winner is, like, I wait for you, right? I wait to hear from you what it is we're reviewing, and then because I don't do any of the tallying, right? I do the posting. This is not my problem. I didn't even, like, honestly, like 2.5 days after this vote was posted, it was so clear what was happening that 2 days after the vote was posted, I just watched The Exorcist. Like, I didn't even we have not discussed it at all. We have not discussed what won, because it was just, you know, we didn't even need to wait for the vote window to close for the listener. It was just like, you know, 48 hours in, it was like, okay, well, we're doing The Exorcist. And so I just watched The Exorcist, and we haven't discussed it at all, like, since. So yeah, it's bizarre.
It is. But we had some 4 voting options. This is clearly the more spookier of our Halloween votes. So we had The Exorcist, which won. And as I go on, these were all your choices, to be clear. We had Insidious Chapter 3, The Pope's Fun Time, and The Ring.
The Pope's Exorcist, yeah. And the only reason I put The Pope's Exorcist in because it was a film that I saw in theaters earlier this year. And so I thought, well, you know, it could be fun to, and it's very tropey in the sense that it is your garden variety exorcism film. And gets a lot, like, and so in some ways it's very similar to The Exorcist, which is very fascinating because you'll come to realize, as again we'll probably get into, these are tropes that exist in this genre because of The Exorcist, right? And so it's kind of one of those, like, oh, is The Exorcist is just another one of those films filled with all the cliche possession movie tropes, and it's like, no. Like, they're all copying this, right? Like, this was the one. So that is why I put that one in. I put The Ring in. I've never seen The Ring.
Neither have I, but it's very popularly, like, it's a huge pop culture reference.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you know, you're gonna die in 7 days. You get the phone call, you watch the tape, the girl comes out of the TV. Like, I'm so familiar with the imagery.
Premise. Yeah.
But I've just never seen it. And then the only reason I put Insidious Chapter 3 in there is because years ago we reviewed chapter 1 and 2.
Right.
And maybe subliminally I was trying to start something. I was trying to be like, well, we've done 3 of them, so because that's basically what happened with Scream. Right? We did Scream, and then we just had a vote, and people voted for Scream 2, and we're like, well, hey, there is a Scream movie coming. But, yes, so there it is.
No. Just telling you now, no.
But it's Patrick Wilson. Everyone loves Patrick Wilson. Anyways, yeah. So there you go. Well, and The Exorcist blew them all out of the water.
Oh yeah, wasn't even close.
Hands down, pants down. There was no competition.
Yeah. Well, should we get into it?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, and I will tell you, I've watched 3. I watched 1, The Making of, and I watched 2, 20-minute each, evening news specials from back in 1973.
Dang.
Right? This is the 5:00 news. This pop culture phenomenon that is The Exorcist and blah, blah, blah. And interviews with people who, spoiler alert, and this is part of the iconicness of this film, part of the legacy of this film. On camera microphone discussions, not with 1, not with 2, but 11 separate people who either walked out at the end of the film or walked out partway through the film or while sitting down in the theater watching the film, passed out.
Holy, fans or audience members, not workers, people who viewed the movie and passed out. People
who, for a 10 o'clock showing, had been waiting in line since 4:30 in the morning, went to the film and passed out. Followed by, those discussions followed by, the concession dude or the ticket terror or whatever, the guy that works at the theater that talks about how the theater, that this happens to probably half a dozen people every showing.
Oh, and I see.
And show that we just have people passing out in the theater, people are just fainting as a result of this and throwing Thursday up and whatever else. And he talks about how so when that happens, and then he shows you, he's so these are our smelling salts, and we'll go in and use the smelling salts. He says we have 2 types. We have one in a bottle, and then we have these little tablets that we can break. And then the person comes to, and he says, and most people at that point leave, but some have decided to stay and keep watching.
I've paid my $1.50. I'm staying.
I waited in line since 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, man. Well, with that being said, let's get the smelling salts out and get into it.
Let's do this. All right.
So we're going to do something a little bit differently, at least to start the conversation.
Okay.
We've done this a couple times on the show, but we're going to run through the film in a summative kind of way, where we will start at the beginning. I'm going to run us through the events of the film, and it's kind of just a touch point for us to kind of, hit on the main themes, and then that can kind of guide our conversations. And obviously we might get on some tangents because there's some bigger things. Like you said, with how big, how fundamental this was in filmmaking, or just the things that happened as far as, being a phenomenon in the 70s. So this by no means is supposed, we will get on our tangents, but I feel like as a horror movie, I kind of want to go back to this summary perspective where, just so it's not an hour of you talking and me going, yeah, that was messed up.
Okay. Yeah. No, 100%. Carl and I do this when we review TV shows.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, very similar.
Listen, I've got a tattoo that says this. If it's good enough for Carl Eastman, it's good enough for me.
I love it. The one thing I will say, the spoiler alert, the foreshadowing for this episode.
Oh, is whether it that this is Carl's favorite movie?
It is, yes. Now, Carl can't stand horror, man. Horror and needles.
Yeah.
Any sort of if he's got to get the flu shot or blood taken or one of the main reasons behind why the man would never get a tattoo is he cannot do needles.
Right. Yeah.
But no, the one thing, whether it comes up organically during the summary or it's something that we debate at the end, and I'm ready for your stomach to sink and your heart to do a flip, and just this sigh, just this dread to come over you. But something that I do want to talk about is the level of crassness, specifically in terms of things like using religious paraphernalia in lewd manners and saying lewd things to men of the cloth type of thing. So I do, because that's one of the those were the shit moments for me. Those were the moments where I was like, like, okay. So I mean, up until this point, it's been a horror film, a slightly dated horror film, but an iconic one nonetheless. But then when the priest walks in and the 12-year-old's on the bed saying "F me," like that's the moment when I was like, oh, Pete is going to not be happy at all. So I do want to break that into that at some point. Like I said, it may come up organically, or it might be the beautiful cap to the episode, but we'll see.
You know what? We've got the Movie Man Bingo. Maybe today's game is what point did Pete break the DVD in half?
Did he? Yeah. Did you watch this? I assume you watched this alone.
Oh yeah, it was not family movie night, I'll tell you that.
Well, and I mean, listen, I know you weren't going to sit your kids down to watch it, but I also just assumed your wife had zero interest. Your wife was like, "Oh, you're watching The Exorcist? Have fun. I'm going to watch Cats." For a significantly more enjoyable time for her, anyways.
Good heavens.
But okay, take us through, sir. Are you wanting to do initial impressions, or we're just going straight into the summary? Okay,
let's do some quick ones. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first. So my initial impressions of The Exorcist is it's dated. It is. It came out in 1973. Came out 50 years ago this year.
Yeah.
Right? So it's dated, sure. It is, for being 50 years old, from a visual effects standpoint, whether it be floating above the bed or anything like that, it's still technically impressive. Mm-hmm. From a time where there was no green screen and CGI and stuff like that. Like we were,
right.
You're just using thin cables and lighting and mirrors and camera tricks in order to pull this stuff off. It holds up in a lot of ways. It is vulgar. It's very crass at times. And like I said, we'll end up talking about whether or not that was gratuitous or if it was necessary. And I think at the end of the day, like, do I find it scary? No. I don't find it scary because I've seen several films like this. In horror, this kind of exorcism, demonic possession, whatever it is, and specifically the exorcism thing, not just like, oh, there's this creepy person in our apartment building and we think they're possessed because, blah, blah, blah. But this, like, messed around with a Ouija board, brought something into invited something in that you shouldn't have invited in, and now some expert has to come and help. That's my favorite subgenre of horror. Because there's usually a happy ending, I think, is part of it, right? Like if you just have like a horror film, you watch Saw and it was super gross for 2 hours and everyone died, right? Whereas 9 times out of 10, if The Exorcist is coming, it's going to be a bumpy road, but we're going to get there, right? This guy is going to be able to help. And so I didn't find it scary because I've seen many films like this. You tack on the dated aspect of it, which also then, also then diminishes some of the scariness. But I do recognize and see why, especially if you look at the horror films that came before this and what that genre looked like up until this point.
Right.
I can see why this is super iconic, right? Why this changed the industry, completely changed the genre, and why nobody at the time, and why people had such a visceral reaction, because no one at the time had ever seen anything like it, right? It just didn't exist in film. And so, yeah, that's my initial impression. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's for what it is, I think it's a really good movie. And that they're probably really, in terms of like visual effects have gotten better, writing has gotten better, whatever. I'm not sure that from an importance in a genre standpoint, I'm not sure nothing like this had ever been made before. And I'm really not sure anything has been made like this since. So that's my initial impression. Pete, what do you think?
That's an interesting question. I don't really know what, off the top of my head, it'd be hard to come up with something that, when you say since, because, something that was this groundbreaking and is disturbing and just pushing the envelope. That's a good question. That'd be something I'd have to chew on. And I'd be curious if I'm sure there is something, but nothing comes to mind off the top of my head. Listen, my initial impression, there's going to be no spoilers here, despised it, hated, this isn't my kind of movie, but my goal in this is not just to be a wet, my goal is to just not be a wet blanket. I'm not going to pull a Brady with Dune and be like, this movie was crap, and just say how crap it was for me, because I understand its pop cultural significance, and there was, some features of it. Am I excited about it? If someone said we're having a movie night and we're going to watch it, I'd feel like, let's not. But it is campy. It is corny. I think it's just, one of those uncomfortable things, just because there's some, whatever you believe, there's some very odd circumstances and psychological documentation cases where people have had odd experiences where, whether it was maybe mental health or some type of possession or something in between or something out there, there's been real life documented cases of just odd stuff happening. And so this kind of rings true to, some real life applications of that. And so I think that is just where, obviously I'm like, what, this is a little uncomfortable for me. I don't even remember. I watched it's not a crime thing, but like a true covering of it. And I think it was like in Germany. At least the one I watched, it was like a German girl, and I think it was around the turn of the century. And yeah.
Oh, Annalise Michael or Mikal. Is that the one?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
because I think she was German. If I'm thinking of the right one, it's been a long time since I watched it.
That's the one I think I know of. 1952.
52, so never mind. It's not to turn the century, but still.
Yeah, it was a German woman who underwent 67 Catholic exorcism rites during the year before her death. She died of malnutrition, for which her parents and priest were convinced of were convicted of negligent homicide. And
so when you break it down, I think when you look at it, that as a side note, you look at things like this and some red flags go up and you go, there's definitely some weird stuff, so maybe there's something supernatural at play. There's also some things where you go, okay, maybe there's some paranoia getting in here. There's some human-fueled elements of it, and maybe there's some mental health issues with the person itself, and maybe it's a sick, vicious cycle. Regardless, weird stuff has happened historically where there's been things like that happen in the movie that we're reviewing. And, I think that'd be one of the reasons I wouldn't volunteer to want to watch it again or watch the series.
Yeah, no. Someone would say, "Hey, come on over for a party. We're gonna watch The Exorcist," and you were like, "Sweet, I'll be there. Do you mind if I get drunk?"
Right. Right.
Now, did we review? You're dying here. Did we review? I'm pretty sure either we reviewed or I had you watch The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
We watched it independently because that did come to mind too. That was a fictional one too, right? Like that wasn't based on a quote unquote true story.
Well, so really, really interesting. That movie is loosely based on the Annalise Michel.
Oh, okay, that sounds right.
Okay. Because there was like legal things that kind of followed, right? Like it was problematic because of at the time the parents and the priests were like, well, she was possessed, blah blah blah, and the courts and the legal system were like, no, you guys, you killed her through whatever it is that you did to her. You said you saw like a live action. You said you saw like a sort of a bio or like you watched a video on the Annalise thing?
Yeah, it was like a BuzzFeed unsolved, like 20-30 minute covering of it, and it was kind of a breakdown.
Did it include, because if not, they are on YouTube, did it include the audio recordings?
Obviously, so it was like a 20 or 30 minute video, so obviously it wasn't the full extensive coverings of the audio clips, but it definitely did play some clips of it, and it's like, and that's why it's peculiar, because red flags go off going like, was there some negligence involved? Kind of looks like it. Was there maybe some supernatural stuff going on? I don't know. There's some peculiar stuff going on all around, and is it maybe fueled by how the adults around her were treating her? Maybe. Is it maybe a mental health issue? Like there's just so many facets of it that I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think.
Because you hear it and you're like, well, it sure doesn't sound like a 23-year-old girl.
Oh, clearly
right?
not.
And then also there's like the whole, like I'm pretty sure the language she's speaking in those tapes is not German. Right. And that's one of those things. That's one of those things, like, is touched on in this film and touched on in many other films. One of the tropes is, is the person speaking languages that there's no justifiable way for explaining why they would know how to speak that language. Yeah.
So, well, let's get into her. Let's
do it.
Break down this pleasant film. So we've got Georgetown, Washington, D.C. There's an actress named Chris McNeil, and she's starring in a film directed by her friend. McNeil,
let me stop you right there. So what's very interesting is, so this film, is worth noting, has multiple sequels.
Yeah, it looks
there is The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which came out several years later, has both Regan and Chris in it. Right? Both those characters come back, both the actors come back, blah, 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 super wonderful. The Exorcist 3, just called The Exorcist 3, came out in 1990. It doesn't have either of them in it, but Father, what's his name? Not the, hang on, let me pull up the actual name here. The boxer, the psychiatrist, Father Karras. He's in it now.
The young guy.
The young guy, he's in it, but he's no longer Father Karras. He's now referred to as Patient X because he's in like a psychiatric institute after the things he experienced. There was The Exorcist Beginnings. The Exorcist Beginnings.
While you're looking that up, I instinctually was going to ask, is so-and-so in this? Because he's the most famous actor I knew. And I was good. Pardon me. I was going to say, was Max von Sydow in it? And then I was like, whoops, never mind. Just never mind.
Yeah, probably not.
You're going to go with no.
So then there was The Exorcist. Why can't I find just a simple friggin' list of... Hang on. The Exorcist movies. The Exorcist, The Beginning came out in 2004. And Stellan Skarsgård plays a slightly younger Father Merrin, the older guy, the Exorcist. And it's sort of like a beginning. I don't know much about it. I don't know if it is, because in this film they talk about how, Father Merrin he did like a 26-day exorcism somewhere in Africa. And that's sort of his credentials for this. I don't know if this follows that. I really don't know. Dominion.
Stellan Skarsgård, for the record, just has such a diverse portfolio. I mean, you've got Mamma Mia, the Exorcist. You've got Pirates of the Caribbean.
The MCU.
You've got the MCU.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
Yep. Stellan comes back a couple years later for a film called Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, which is just another whatever. However, this is all to say, The Exorcist has pulled a Halloween, right? So Halloween came out 10 million years ago with Jamie Lee Curtis, and there was something like 12 Halloween films that have been made. But then a couple of years ago, if you remember, Jamie Lee Curtis came back for a trilogy of films, and those 3 films were a direct sequel to the original Halloween. So basically, they ignored everything else that had come since, all the other sequels, all the other films that were not made by the original dude, that were not, whatever. It was like, okay, this is, that's all great, blah, blah, blah. However, this is a sequel to the original. James Cameron did that with Terminator, right? The most recent Terminator film, they said, hey, this is, we know there's like 7 of them. This is a sequel to the second one. And it cuts everything out. It retcons everything else. So there's a film in theaters right now called The Exorcist Believer.
Right.
Which has done that. It has taken all of those sequels and prequels and whatever else, completely retconned them, said this is a sequel to the first one. And Ellen Burstyn returns and reprises her role as old lady Chris McNeil.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you watch the trailer, there's this great moment where like she's just there sort of like a resident expert or whatever, like someone who has experience. And there's like a different kid now or a couple of kids that are possessed and a set of parents that are super upset and blah, blah, blah. And there's a moment where Chris McNeil first meets and is talking to the possessed kid. And it's at a moment where the kid's not behind the wheel, right? Like it's clearly we're talking to the demon. And Chris McNeil says, we've met before. And the demon, the little girl who's like possessed with the yellow eyes and, blah, blah, blah. Like it looks very updated, but also they've kept the stylings completely the same, right? Like it looks, the design of what someone looks like when they're possessed is consistent with the Exorcist universe. So she says, we've met before. And the demon looks at Chris McNeil and says, hello, mother. Right. So it's just like, it's cool. It's cool that she's back 50 years, the 50-year anniversary. She's back and they're doing their thing. But
the 50-year reunion tour.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So yeah, we've got McNeil. She's got a sweet acting gig. And she's along with her 12-year-old daughter, Regan. Ronald Reagan. They rent a luxurious house with servants.
Yeah, so it's not even happening at home.
Yeah.
which is one thing and is maybe scary, but also like there's going to be several times where I give a big up to this film for being more complex than it needed to be and not taking the easy route. And what a unique choice to have the mother be not just a homemaker,
That's just really true for 50 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's not a mother and father situation. It's not a whatever.
That's true.
She's single parenting.
Huh.
She's a Hollywood movie star.
I honestly just watched that through modern day lens, and I just kind of was like, shrug. Fine.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
No, big up, because it adds a layer of background, right, and explains the presence of several other characters. It's the director. It's the whoever else.
No, that's cool. As a side note, I should have mentioned this in my initial impressions. With Regan, there was in the movie The Hateful Eight from 2015. There's this beautiful, majestic scene where horses are trotting through just fresh snow on the mountainside where it hasn't been like it's just freshly slayed. They're running through this snow in slow motion, and it's very majestic with a wagon. And there's this beautiful theme that's playing with it. And I remember when I watched the movie, I used my Shazam to go, what is this? Like, this is such a beautiful theme. And then I realized it was Reagan's theme. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is recycled music from like an Exorcist film. But regardless, it appears, after I watched this, I went, wait a minute. I don't even remember this playing. And it looks like maybe this is from the second Exorcist, and that's why I didn't recognize it, because I didn't notice it in this film, and that would have been the one redeeming factor for me. Going, well, I was traumatized, but at least there was that 30 seconds that wasn't so bad.
And that reminds me of the like coyotes or the wolves or whatever they are, which also reminds me you skipped the entire beginning of this movie. I mean,
that's possible. This summary, to be clear, is not written by me. So if I miss something, please interject, because it's...
So the film starts out at an archaeology site in the Middle East.
Right.
Right, where we're first introduced to Father Marin.
Yes, Max von Sydow, I'll call him.
Yeah. And it doesn't end up. It ultimately doesn't end up meaning a whole lot. It's kind of just and if I have any criticism of this film, it's kind of that like there's an artifact that's discovered that is presumably a super dark artifact. And it's kind of presented as potentially being a MacGuffin for the film, and it really doesn't. It really isn't.
Right.
Right? Like, it kind of has not a whole lot to do with anything. It does appear someone finds it later on, or something very similar to it. That's weird. Yeah, I don't.
But it's not as
I don't
big
know what
as
the
you
whole.
would fundamentally think it should be.
They don't make a deal out of it. And so I don't know what the whole point of that is. I don't know if there's supposed to be something and I just missed it. But I think ultimately this is just an introduction to Father Marin.
Sure.
And that he, that he's well-traveled and he knows evil when he sees it.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. But a criticism of the film would be that, like, for everything that happens in this opening, like 15 minutes, for it to presumably have nothing to do really ultimately with the rest of the film, it's a little convoluted and could probably just be cut entirely.
Right. For it to not have a significant payoff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Father Damien is a psychiatrist who counsels Georgetown University priests. He's visiting his ailing mother in New York. He confides to a colleague that he feels unfit in his role, citing a crisis of faith.
Yep.
I mean, checks out so far. Chris hosts a party with, I guess I'll just call him Damien. Chris hosts a party with Damien's friend, Father Dyer, who explains Damien's role as a counselor, mentioning that his mother died. Pardon me, died recently. Regan seemingly...
You're still getting over a cold. It's we can make note of that. So that
yeah, I mean, the smoking like a chimney doesn't help, but it's mostly the cold.
Yeah, the meth. But that's... When you have a cold, how else are you supposed to get through it?
I've been downing Buckley's, and man, I feel like it didn't taste as bad 20 years ago. I'm just gonna say.
So speaking of that beginning, and because obviously you're a Max von, what is it, Sydow?
I could be wrong. Sydow.
You appear to be a fan. Are you a fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like I appreciate him, but I don't. He's not like in the Ralph Fiennes territory or anything.
Right. Okay. Something that is bewildering to me, and I mean, I guess it's dyed hair, and like, how old in this film would you wager Father Merrin's supposed to be? Because they make mention of the fact that, like, is he still physically able to do stuff like this? He's kind of getting on in his years.
He doesn't seem that over the hill.
No? What would your guess be?
Oh, I don't know. In the 70s? I don't know. Like,
okay, right. Yeah, so he's not dead and gone.
No, I don't know, 50 or 60, I don't know.
50? Yeah, but looking at him, he's got all white hair.
True.
And age spots and wrinkles and crow's feet and, whatever else.
I guess more 60.
Yeah. Yeah, Max, when he shot this, was 44 when this film came out.
He was 44?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even know what to think anymore.
Like... And I don't know if that's...
Are the age spots real? Were they like...
No, I'm assuming they have to have aged him up.
Yeah, true.
Because I've seen... like, right now I'm looking at pictures of him when he died in 2020. Right? So 47 years later. And he... doesn't look much worse, if not slightly better, than he did in The Exorcist in 1973. so obviously they aged him up here, but I just don't know. Like, yeah, he's still a rough looking guy, I guess. Like, anyways,
Regan, who is apparently unwell, appears in the party and the gathering and urinates before Chris comforts her. And I remember this. I think there's a scary movie that makes fun of this.
So Scary Movie, Scary Movie 1.
Maybe.
Parodies several things, right? Like there is a Father Merrin that shows up, and he's dropping the kids off at the pool in the bathroom, and all of a sudden there's just flies everywhere, and like flies are landing on his face, and they start, instead of just her puking green pea soup, they all start puking it on each other, and then when Regan starts like, sticking her tongue out and like gesturing at him seductively, he kind of takes the bait and plays back a little bit. Yeah, so there's I think it's the first Scary Movie that dedicates like a whole 10 minutes to The Exorcist.
After she puts Regan to bed, it is how they phrase it shakes violently. Dyer consoles Karis, who expresses guilt at not having been with his mother when she died. Regan's personality becomes violent.
Well, okay, hang on. Whoa. Like, we're so far into this film already. So we get introduced to Father Ferris.
Yes.
and his mother. Dude. Okay, hang on. Pump the brakes. So we get introduced to Father Ferris and his relationship with his mother.
Ferris or Karras?
Karras. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's
Father Karras. We were talking about a scary movie. Now I'm thinking Anna Faris. Now that's what's happening. So Father Karras, and we get introduced to him and his relationship with his mom, and something seems a little like either he's been out of town for a long time or something's going on. Like she doesn't seem like she doesn't seem entirely capable of taking care of herself. And, but also there's like, yeah, she doesn't seem capable of taking care of herself, and something seems up with her in a mental capacity type way. Then she has an episode, and we find out that she ends up, like, where she gets stuck when she has her episode is they stick her in like a psychiatric hospital. And it's in that moment that, like, I turned and looked at Brienne, and because she's in there with people who clearly have like schizophrenia and are, you know, like completely mentally incapacitated in many ways, heavily medicated people. And it was at this point where I like paused the movie and I turned and looked at Brienne and I was like, I'm pretty sure she just has dementia. And so it was just a glimpse into the times of like how dementia was perceived in the early 70s. Right? That you would have just been considered to be, you know, like certainly the stigma around mental health and the whatever else. Like getting treated for mental health in the 70s is not like what it is now. Right.
That I won't argue on, but I don't know about if it's a window into how dementia was treated. Like I'm not like viewed. I would say I'm not sure about
if they even understood it.
I don't know if it was that different in the 70s. Mental health, right? For sure. You're right. There are no arguments there.
So yeah, I don't know. So
but maybe.
So that happens. Which man, whoever you got this summary from, shoot them. Because
but it is full disclosure, it's Wikipedia.
Oh my god, what are you doing? You spend 5 minutes and get like, oh, okay. Anyways, so
listen, if we were reviewing Jurassic Park, I would spend 5 minutes, but we're reviewing this, I am not spending 5 minutes.
So that all happens, and what I find really important and fascinating about this is that, like, again, big up to The Exorcist, because there is a whole story, like the amount of character development that Father Karras gets in this film is miraculous.
True.
Right? That we get introduced to his mother and then she dies and then he's struggling with that and all of this. Like there's all of these layers. Yeah. The other thing that this whole, like if we're already at the point where like, because the bed shakes the first time, it sounds like we're talking about the second bed shaking at this point. So the first time the bed shakes, it happens at least 3 times. We see it twice. The first time Regan tells her mother about it, and the mother doesn't buy it, right? She's like, oh, you know, you're tired, you know, like, I don't know, whatever it is. And the second time, the mother witnesses it, right? Like she jumps on top of the bed to try to, I don't know, stop it from shaking or something.
Yeah.
And it continues shaking. Then we have several, like a good like 15, 20 minutes of this film that happens around medical professionals, right? Like prior to even going to the church and dealing with all of that. So she goes and she takes Regan to, I guess, just a GP at first, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And the GP, who is very, very anti-psychiatry. Like extremely, like a doctor which again, I think is an indicator of what psychiatry and how all that was viewed at the time, right? It wasn't like, hey, you know what? Actually, yes, this might help. It was, well, no, let's not get dramatic here. We'll just put her on Ritalin, right? We're just gonna, we're gonna put her on Ritalin. And there's several times where the mother's like, don't you think we should, maybe like talking to someone and getting some help? He's like, no, Mrs. McNeil.
It's the worst thing you could do.
We'll just give her the drugs. We'll just, the Ritalin is, and he is so he's such a drug pusher, and he's so anti-psychiatry, which, again, I think is probably just a sign of the times.
Maybe. It's hard to say.
So that happens, and then some horrific, truly horrific 1970s era medical equipment. Good Lord. Like, they do whatever it is. I don't know. They do like a CAT scan or what they do. They do brain imaging on her. And the girl gets a 3-inch IV in the neck in order to administer the contrast. Right? Like, Brienne's a nurse. She's a nurse in the ER department. And I like paused the movie and I'm like, what the hell are they doing to her? And Brienne was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, because it's so different than how things are done now, right? She's like, right. I don't know. And then when it was revealed that they were just doing imaging and that was how they were putting the contrast in, she was like, oh my God, like, geez. And then they do more testing, and it's like, at first it seems like some prehistoric MRI machine, or we don't really know. Something's moving around her. She's like laying on a bed, and something's moving around very aggressively, making a lot of really loud, awful, terrifying noises. Something, a scenario that not even like the 11 or 12-year-old would want to have to sit through. I wouldn't want to have to sit through this. Like, it seems terrifying. And Brienne's like, what is this? And then like a minute later, they're like reviewing the results of whatever that big scary thing was. And they're like, oh, the x-rays were inconclusive. And it was like, that was an x-ray? Good Lord. Listen, if there's ever been a time to be appreciative of medical advancements in the year 2023, The Exorcist, that might have been the scariest part of this film. is the massive IV in the neck, and then but this is also, this medical stuff is important because it is the first indicator that the mother starts to get that something's
up.
Not right?
Yeah.
Because the doctor asks her, like, oh, does she have like angry fit? Like, does she swear a lot? And Chris is like, no, she doesn't swear at all. And the doctor's like, she had some pretty colorful language in the room just now. And we find out what that language is, and I'm not going to repeat it. Yeah. But like some nasty, like, uses the C word type of thing. Yeah. And Chris is like, what? Like, that just doesn't seem. And we see her freak out, lash out violently in the doctor's office.
Yeah.
It's also important because once all that stuff wraps up, it is ultimately the doctors who are the ones that suggest getting help from the church. And
they're like, listen,
they do it through the lens of, like, they make it very, 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 very clear. It's a placebo effect. Right, it's psychosomatic. It's if she believes in that type of thing, then just going through the ritual aspect of it and the the whole ceremonial thing, that might be enough to get your daughter sorted out or whatever.
That could do the trick. That might do the trick.
So they're like, they've seen this is a thing that some people have done, and it's shown some success, and it may work. But just so you know, psychiatrists are crazy, and this whole exorcism thing is total bullshit, and is just a placebo effect. But maybe the placebo effect will work, so go get in touch with the church.
Yeah.
So all of that was important. I can't believe your thing skipped all that.
Well, let me finish, son. There's more. Let me go here. Regan's personality becomes violent. To summarize all that you just said, she is subjected to medical tests which find no physical cause.
I thought you said that they approached the shaking bed. Maybe I misheard you.
I think that maybe... Yeah, I did mention that, and I don't know if that's referring to the first time or the second time. So that...
But you said she says something... She comments on... Oh, no, I think I misheard you. Sorry.
Yeah. All good.
Sorry.
All good. We're on the same page. So, during a house call, Regan exhibits abnormal strength. One night, Chris finds the house empty except for a sleeping Regan. Dennings is found dead beneath Regan's window. So, I think he was babysitting, right? Like he was.
Yeah. So
that was the gist.
Chris had to go out to do something, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was like she had to do. Yeah. I don't know. She had to go do something, and Denning was left in charge of watching Regan.
Yes.
Regan. Yep. But not by Chris, right? It was whoever. I don't know if she's a nanny, because it's Burke Dennings. Who, for some reason, Chris seems to maybe have a little bit of a side thing going on. Like, it's kind of hinted, and it's like, really? This guy? This is the guy? Okay. But no, it's I'm trying to see if I can find the name on a list here of who it is. But there's some girl that's, like, in the house.
Sure.
Right? And she's like, I don't know if she's the nanny. I don't know if she's just a...
Girl number one.
Yeah, she's the help, right? Sharon Spencer? Is that?
Sure.
Yeah, looks like it. And so anyways, gosh, who died several years ago at the age of 80. That's just to tell you how long ago this film came out. Yeah, and so when Chris comes back, she's like, "You left her with Burke?" Like reprimands her for it, right? Like you should know better than to do that, and and that was your responsibility, and you're just kind of, schlepping your duties. Yep. And then they go up, and he's not there. He's gone out and left Regan alone. Mm-hmm. And he's found dead. Not just dead, but like...
Well, yeah, so...
Suspiciously dead.
Very suspiciously. Detective Kinderman comes along and he questions Karras.
Well, I loved him, by the way.
He confides in him that Denning's head was turned backwards, which apparently is abnormal, which it is, for the record. Yeah, well, and I think that was just the demon going, I can spin my head around, can you? Oh, you can't? Oops.
Sorry.
My bad. Regan's condition worsens as her body becomes covered with sores, and boy, does it ever. Kinderman tells Chris that the only plausible explanation for Denning's death is that he was pushed from Regan's window.
Yeah.
As Kinderman leaves, Regan has another violent fit, stabbing her private areas with a crucifix and turning her head backwards.
Okay, so is this where we should talk about it?
I guess so.
Okay, so confirm for me that you found the crucifix masturbation and the like F me, like whatever, all of her like the demon's sexual advances to the crude sexual advances to the priests, probably excessive and shouldn't have been there. Is that? Yeah,
that's fair. I mean,
your take on it?
Doing a pulse check, that's pretty accurate. It's like, okay. All right, did I need this? No, probably not.
I am going to disagree entirely. did it make you feel uncomfortable? Yes, undoubtedly.
Mm-hmm.
Did it make me feel uncomfortable? Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Did it make the people who first viewed this in 1973 horrified and nauseous? Yes. But that was the point, right? Because it's in a time where because nowadays you can have, if this film was made today, then you've got Regan crawling across the ceiling and you've got every bone in her body breaking simultaneously and her contorting into some awful shape. And you've got all of these other visual effects at your disposal.
True.
For A, being scary, and B, for really conveying that this isn't Regan we're dealing with. This is something else, and this something else that we're dealing with is pure evil. Nowadays, you have all kinds of things that you can use to convey that. In 1973, you didn't.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were very, very, very limited. And so you have to use other avenues to convey that. To convey not only is this not this 12-year-old girl, but what this is evil and vulgar and horrific and disgusting and not something that we can just pretend isn't there and let live on inside of her because that'll be cheaper and easier and whatever else and hiring the church. Well, it's, psychiatrists, and this film takes place in America. Like, they didn't have health insurance to take her to the hospital for all those tests. X-rays, man. And so that's all there, I think, very specifically for that reason, especially once, and this is sort of jumping out of the timeline here a little, but especially once the priests show up and she's making her sexual advances against them, because it's not her making those sexual advancements, it's the demon. And the only real, like, one of the tropes that exists in demon-centric movies is that one of the things that you need to be able to do in order to gain power over the demon is identify it. You need to figure out what the demon's name is. That doesn't happen in this film. The closest thing that we get to identifying the demon is that the demon claims to be Lucifer. The demon claims not to be just some demon. It claims to be the devil. And we don't get confirmation we don't get confirmation of that. So we don't know whether or not that's actually true or if it's just more of the demon's lies and games and whatever. But the demon, when dealing with, whether it's a demon or whether it's a devil, within the Christian religion or within the lore of this film, however you want to look at it, that entity knows, it fears nothing except for Jesus, except for Christ and the power of Christ, which is something that gets repeated multiple times.
Many times.
And that demon knows that if these priests use the power of Christ against it, it doesn't stand a chance, right? That it's not going to win that fight. It can't. And so the only thing that it can do is really, really get in the head of those priests and throw them off their game and unsettle them so that they are broken and unable to use Christianity, use Christ to combat it. Right. And Father Marin even says that, right? He says, because Father Karras is like, why this little girl? Like, what is the point? Right? Why? Like, I don't understand the point. Why this girl? Like, what is it gaining? And Father Karras says, I think the point is to shake our faith, to create doubt, to to be this. I can't remember exactly what he says, but he says, like, that is the point. The point is so that it can, so that we'll approach it unassuming, because it by appearance, it's for the most part, not so much anymore, but for the most part, just an innocent little 11-year-old, 12-year-old girl. And that works in its benefit. So yeah, all of that is to say, yes, it's excessively crass. Yes, it's upsetting, even for me. But that was the point.
I would say my summary of what you just said would be, yes, it's effective at making people uncomfortable, but I think the difference is those who partake in horror movies would say that's effective. For someone who's not into horror movies would go, you know what, I didn't need any of this to begin with. This is maybe one step too far.
Right. But and that's the thing, right? Is like, you went into this film going, I don't even need this film. Like, I don't need this experience.
Yeah.
At all. But yeah, and I think specifically the thing with the crucifix was to show that what is inside of her is the antithesis of anything holy. And that it has a sheer disregard and lack of respect for the cross and for the church, right? Because it drives home and makes the point perfectly clear that this is the antithesis. This is the opposite of Jesus. So
we just got to pause for 1 second. My son's freaking out. I will be right back.
Hey, sorry.
Hey, sorry about that.
Hey. Yeah, no worries.
I am
Give me a chance to grab water. Cool.
You'll need it.
So I'm done my point there. So you can just pick up.
Yeah. So I think regardless, clearly not normal is what we can determine about that scene.
Yeah. And I would, and again, it's subjective. I would argue it was necessary. Obviously,
I get your,
it was a different experience for you.
I get your argument, and I think it all just comes down to taste, right? Because that's a really good one. I never considered that, because if I had seen what you described of like every bone in her body breaking, I saw that actually recently in an M. Night Shyamalan film where like it happened in an instant, and I went, that was not pleasant, but like it didn't have maybe the desired effect of, if I had seen that on the street, I would have been horrified. But in a film setting, it was like, okay, that's clearly CGI and it's kind of campy in its own way. So you're right. I don't appreciate it, but it's definitely a movie making technique that was unique and effective.
Yeah, and I think we're in the same boat. Like I said, I too didn't want to see it.
No,
right? Like,
and that's
I
the
too
point.
Was made uncomfortable by it.
And that's the point,
but
right?
But I think it was effective in setting a tone and really outlining the severity of the situation.
Oh, for sure. So Reagan's confined to her bedroom for obvious reasons. Chris seeks out Karis. I mean, really.
Reagan has put on a well-deserved timeout.
Good gosh.
Oh my God.
Gotta quit smoking there. So on her bed confinement there, Chris seeks out Karis, who visits Reagan. The possessed Reagan claims to be the devil, as you referred to, and then projectile vomits into Karis's face while speaking in tongues. Both things that are hard to fake, hard to just pretend, and it puts up some red flags, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
The demon says it will remain in Regan until she is dead. At night, Chris,
which I'm assuming it doesn't think will take very long. Like, this isn't a 40-year plan.
It's not the long con per se.
No.
At night, Chris's assistant calls Karis to the house. Still ambivalent. Is that how you say the word? Ambivalent. Yeah, I guess it would be.
Ambivalent? Ambivalent?
Ambivalent? Oh, I'm drawing a blank here. Ambivalent. Regardless, Karis concludes that an exorcism is warranted. His superior grants permission on the condition that an inexperienced priest leads the ritual. You know, you got to get those old seasoned vets involved.
So, sorry, just because I'm hung up on this ambivalent thing.
Please.
Meaning that he still has mixed feelings about it. He's not.
Yes.
Yeah, ambivalent.
Ambivalent, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Still,
I was gonna, there's gonna
having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something or someone.
Yeah. And you can click the little speaker and she'll go ambivalent. Or, well, actually, it's a robot, so it may sound more like ambivalent, or ambivalent.
Ambivalent. Catholic priest Max von Sydow, having performed an exorcism before, is summoned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's sort of because Father Karras explains that, like, it's not as simple as, like, I can't just do it. A, I've never done one.
Right.
And B, there's rules, right? Like, I got to go before the committee here. And
got to come up with a game plan.
Well, but I'm not allowed to do it without permission, right? Like, I need permission. I need the blessing from the church to do it. And they don't give that out very lightly. Right? He even kind of alludes at one point that, like, even within certain circles of the church, it's considered kind of archaic and a thing of the past, right? Like, that it's not actually, like, he kind of admits at that point that maybe the church has performed exorcisms for things that really did just need Ritalin. Right? And so that's kind of his. And so, but eventually he, like, after he sees enough things, he goes, he calls up whoever and says, like, yes, I truly think that she's exhibiting enough signs to that, she's met the qualifications, she's met the criteria for displaying demonic possession. And that I'd like to do this. And then the two, like, bigwigs within the church kind of hum and haw back and forth about who to get and who to, because they're not going to go do it. You need someone with a little bit of experience, and someone who, not only with experience, but someone, again, within the church who still believes in that aspect of it, right? And isn't going to see it as something that the church has evolved past.
When you said a little bit of a little bit of experience, I was thinking, a little bit of experience and a lot of courage.
Oh yeah, right. Because then maybe there are people who believe and people who don't think it's archaic and silly and a thing of the past, but they're like, screw that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, nope. Max von Sydow arrives at the house. As the priests read from the Roman ritual, the demon curses them. The priests rest, and Max von Sydow, shaking, takes some nitroglycerin as a bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, big foreshadowing.
It's like, I better take this. I better take my heart pills here. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Damien enters the bedroom, where the demon appears as his mother.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of off-putting.
It is, and that was one of the things when Father Karras first arrives. Like, that was one of the things that sort of sold him on what was going on, was that she says to him, like, your mother something, I can't remember your mother's in here or down in hell or whatever. Oh, she makes that's true. I'm not going to repeat it word for word because I know you'll make me bleep it, but he implies that Father Karras' mother performs oral sex in hell, and that is the and so as Father Karras is leaving, he asks, did Regan know? He says, were you aware that my mother had passed away recently? And Chris says, yes, I'm so sorry. And he says, does Regan know? And Chris says, no, she has no idea. And so that's when that was one of those, would be impossible for Regan to know type things, which is also a little bit alarming, because either A, that means that the demon has some sort of like network connection to who's like is able to is not quite omnipresent, but also is like has connections and is able to know who's died and who hasn't, or
maybe
Father
just
Karras
can have a good read on people and know their weak points, right?
Well, yeah, but in order for the demon to actually know that Father Karras' mother had recently passed away, right? Yeah. Either it has some network connection, B, it's able to read minds, or C, Father Karras' mother really is actually in hell, because how else would the demon know?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Showing weakness, Karras exclaims that the demon is not his mother. Max von Sydow excuses Karras and continues the exorcism by himself, which I've been pretty level-headed this whole review. This point was where, you break the buddy system and you deserve what's coming to you.
No, but you have to. You have to, because if you have someone in the room who is, like they say all the time in these movies, like, you need to go into that room strong and you need to stay strong. Because as soon as you start to
but you need to
shake mentally.
You need to regroup and go in as a team, not just, I've got this. Can you pass me my nitroglycerin, by the way?
Yeah, right. But I think, Father Marin probably thought, I've got a grip on, I've got a grip hold on this demon right now, and I don't want to lose this progress. Or
I guess
something. I don't know.
Karras assures Chris that Regan will not die, and re-enters the room, and lo and behold, he was right. finding that Reagan will not die, but indeed Marin is dead AF from a heart attack.
Yeah, and super bullshit. Super bullshit for Karras to be making those promises.
Right.
He's already admitted that he doesn't know the first thing about exorcism or possession or anything like that. So that is a promise that he was not able to back up with any sort of credibility at all. No, yeah, it'll totally be fine.
Don't worry. You know what? I've seen this never before, but I can assure you.
Yeah. No, I saw it in a movie once. Oh, wait, no, I didn't because this is the first movie like that. So, in fact, I'm just full of shit.
I'm full of it. Enraged, Karras beats the possessed Reagan and demands that the demon take him instead. The demon rips the medallion off St. Joseph from Karras' neck. Oh, sorry. I misread that. The demon rips the medallion of St. Joseph from Karras' neck and possesses him, freeing Reagan, which then means Karras hurls himself out the window, just like that other Burke Dennings did, tumbling down the stone stairs outside.
Which was also super risky because So this is the reason why Karras had to get the hell out of the room, because this was a boneheaded move, ultimately. It paid off. He got lucky, but it was a boneheaded move that he did as an emotional response. It was a knee-jerk move to be like, well, take me instead, in an attempt to save this girl, under the
gentleman's handshake that the demon won't double back and just go right back into Reagan.
Go right back into her, but then also under the assumption that once the demon had entered him, there would be a window where he still had enough autonomy to be able to jump out the window and kill himself. Right? And on top of that, a further assumption that would be effective. Right? That even if he jumped out, that he was even capable of killing himself. That he had to be alive for the demon to, survive within the body and not be able to move it. And that in killing himself, that the demon would have no choice but to go back to hell? Right? Like, this was a long list of 1 in a million crapshoots here.
Yeah.
1 in a million crapshoots.
Chris and Kinderman enter the room. Chris embraces the healed Reagan.
Real fast. Rogan? Joe.
Enter stage right. Rogan was behind it. It was those damn kids the whole time.
It was Rogan. Yeah, it was Joe Rogan.
Son of a
But not even like podcast Joe Rogan, like Fear Factor Joe Rogan. Like still has all his hair and totes a leather jacket.
I mean, that's the only way to roll, isn't it?
Look, even I could probably take him Joe Rogan, you know?
Chris embraces the healed Joe Rogan, and Kinderman surveys the scene. Outside, Dyer administers the dying Karras his last rites.
Yeah. Which, again, so at this point, so he's not quite dead yet. Like, he's boned. Like, there's no coming back from this. But he's still...
Don't be making dinner plans with him.
But he's still breathing, right? Like, he's not quite brain dead yet. And so at which point, the demon's still in him. So he's not even... I would assume, unless the demon's like, well, this ride sucks, I'm out of here. Like... so that part's weird, right? Because, and I guess like the guy administering the last rites doesn't know there's a demon in there, but I don't know.
I guess there's a whole lot of unknowns about like what exactly, why was Damien so confident of his plan would be working and how that even worked? Like, I don't. Does that mean?
I don't think he was confident. It was just
and I guess,
knee-jerk.
like, does that mean the demon took over Burke and jumped him out? I just kind of assumed that it, like, used the force and pushed him out the window, or maybe she physically pushed him out, but maybe...
I think she physically snapped his neck and threw him out the window.
Okay,
right?
maybe.
Because that's one of Chris's realizations. And she realizes it, and then she even says to Damien, she says, my daughter killed Burke Denning.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The McNeils prepare to leave. They're ready to get the heck out of Dodge. Father Dyer says goodbye. Despite having no memory of her ordeal, Reagan, moved by the sight of Dyer's clerical collar, kisses him on the cheek.
Yeah, which I get. Is that the 70s? Is that what that is?
I guess.
Because she just met this man.
Yeah, I mean...
Right, like she was introduced to him like a second ago, right? Oh, yeah. Hey, this is so-and-so. Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, look at the, you've got some nice bling-bling there. Let me plant one on you. Must be the 70s. It must have been like a sign of respect for a child to, I don't know.
It is Hollywood though. Like the mom's an actor, because that's like at the Oscars, everyone does that. So maybe it's just a rich person thing.
I guess.
Yeah. As the McNeils leave, Chris gives Dyer the medallion found in Reagan's room. Dyer then briefly examines the steps where Karis died before walking away.
Yep.
Cut. End credits.
Because and ultimately, like, you know, the detective, he kind of like, you know, he asks how the girl is.
Mm-hmm.
And I see, and then it was kind of weird. Like, what is the detective's take on all of this, right? And how much did the detective know, and how much did he not know? Because he, like, she was sick, is all he knows, right? That she had like some mental stuff going on, and Ritalin, and he not once does he fully accuse or suggest that Regan was the one that does it. He even implies, well, that would be physically impossible. She wouldn't have the strength to do that, right? And so he's kind of like, he's doomed to just be on this cold case now, because he's never going to solve, he's not going to catch up with them somewhere and you know, start asking more questions and you know, whatever. But he kind of like has a playful smirk about that, right? He's like, how's the girl? And you know, it was like he was showing up to investigate more and ask more questions. And then the father's like, you just missed them, they're gone. And he's like, well, there you have it, right? It kind of like, you know, she got away with murder, literally.
Shucks.
And, you know, and he's like, well, you know,
you win some, you lose
month.
some. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah. So
apparently there's a director's cut ending where Dyer gives Karis's medallion back to Chris. After she and Reagan drive away, Dyer pauses at the top of the stone steps before walking away, coming across Kinderman, who narrowly misses. Oh, so this is... Wait. Which one did I watch? Because this is what you described, is it not? Who narrowly missed Chris and Reagan's departure. Kinderman and Dyer begin to develop a friendship.
Oh, yeah. That's I guess I watched the director's cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he interacts with them, and then the Kinderman does the same thing that he did with Karis, and he says, do you like going to movies? And Karis is like, well, or
do I?
Dyer's like, yeah, what movie? And he's like, you know, it's called blah blah blah. And he's like, oh, who's in it? Like it's the same dialogue, same conversation. It's like, wow, who's in it? He's like, you know, so and so is so and so, and so and so is so and so. And he's like, I've seen it. And then they, like, you know, walk off together or walk in separate directions or whatever it is. But yeah, whatever. That's the one I watched.
Okay. I think
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, really, to me, it doesn't seem too drastically different. You know, it's not like a alternate ending where Reagan really, you know, turns at the camera at the end and you go, oh shoot, what's going to happen? It, to me, like, it is a bit of a, I don't know. I guess we know with more Exorcist movies coming out, but like, I just do think it's a bit of an unresolved ending where we go, is this really that effective? Because like you said, it's a 1 in a million shot that this whole plan of the father's worked. And at least temporarily it did. But like, is it permanent? Is it sustainable? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the movie. That is it in a nutshell. What else do we need to cover? I've covered most of what I need to cover.
I don't know. I mean, there's iconic music, right? Like it's got that theme song that plays, that everyone knows. And for years, like if your parents came home from Walmart with a tape cassette of spooky sounds that they could play at Halloween off the little tape cassette and set it out on the front porch, there's a good chance that tape cassette or that CD included the Exorcist theme song. That I can't do it, but yeah.
The only theme I picture is like, I think when Max von Sydow shows up, and that's maybe what we're talking about here, or what you're talking about. I'm not sure, but
yes,
I recognize at least some of the music, as you seem to as well.
Yeah. Interestingly, the so just doing a little reading here, the angiography scene with the IV in the neck. Medical professionals have described the scene, not in the novel, but added to the film to reflect changes in technology, as a realistic depiction of the procedure. It is also of historical interest as radiologists were increasingly using a more distant artery instead of the carotid. Carotid. Yeah. See, that's my ambivalent thing.
Honestly, I appreciate that you did that on purpose, giving me a chance to come out and say carotid to make up for the whole ambivalent thing. I'm actually a little embarrassed about that.
It has also been described as the most realistic depiction of a medical procedure in a popular film. In his 2012 commentary on the DVD release of the 2000 cut, Friedkin claimed that the scene was used in radiology training film for years afterward.
Specifically that scene, to clarify, they didn't send all the students home with the DVD. They're like, don't watch the whole movie, just watch this one scene.
Just watch the one, yeah. So that's interesting. And again, like a testament to, they went for, like, even though that was, it's also considered by audiences to be one of the most discomforting moments in the film, right? Because they do it, and then the blood squirts. Like, there's like a violent squirting of blood that happens. And it is... they just, even though it's upsetting and even though it's, in a film, you could do it from a different angle, or you could, cut some corners and just do it in a slightly less realistic special effects kind of way to save on time, to save on money, to save on whatever. They really didn't cut any corners with this. They really went for, like I said, the scene where she's hovering over the bed. I don't know how they did that. I'm sure there's stuff out there on it, and I'm curious to look it up and figure it out. But it's just so well done, and the film was clearly going for shock. It was clearly going for to upset people and to convey the most horrific thing it could. Because think about it, like what did horror films look like prior to this? right? Well, you've got Psycho.
Yeah.
But it's not too long before this that like a horror film is either a Dracula monster movie, Creature from the Black Lagoon type thing, or Vertigo, or Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo.
No, but that's not horror. That's a psychological thriller.
But that would have been more like there's still some like they're trying to make you feel unsettled.
Yeah, but very different though. Like that's different than the
exactly. But there's a quote here from the director.
Sure.
One of the best things that could happen. This is at the time of release. One of the best things that could happen is if the Pope denounces it.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime a negative press or
it would have been incredible press for them.
Oh, yeah, it would have been a huge, huge thing. Financially.
Yeah.
Would have raised a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you have it. So
there you have it,
on
folks.
a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rank the 1973 Exorcist?
I think I gave it a 1 out of 10. I thought about giving it a 2 or 3, and just by what I'm looking at for my movie metrics, I think I got to go with a 1. And it's got some interesting accomplishments, financially, the things you mentioned about the things it was doing to audiences at the time. And, there's some really interesting filmmaking decisions for like physical components, storyline components, creating things that are accomplishments. It just doesn't really align with my interests. And it's weird saying this. Is it a bad movie? I'm not going to weigh in on that, but just for my enjoyment and my critiquing, I gave it a 1 out of 10. And
yeah, so this is your, even if it's raining at the cottage, or in this case, even if the theater is giving out Lamborghinis.
Yeah, the answer would be no.
Yeah.
What did you... It could be raining Lamborghinis at the cottage.
It could be raining. Well, then that's not safe to go out at that point.
No, it's
but
not.
Yeah.
What did you give this out of 10?
I gave it an 8.5. It's like I said, it's dated. It is. Yeah. There are things that don't hold up.
Mm-hmm.
I would say specifically in terms of some of the dialogue. And that's just, we talk different now, and films are written differently now. Written differently now. So that's one thing. And then also dated in the level of true scare that it brings, right? Like the suspense, the creepy kind of feel type thing. But again, like, hats off to it, because it came out at a time where it didn't need to be as scary as films are today, right? Like, if you watch the trailer for the one that's out right now, it's a whole different ballgame, right? Whole different ballgame. And, but it came out at a time where it didn't need to be as scary as films need to now.
Yeah.
But still hats off to it, because it didn't need, like, if it, on a scale of 0 to 10, if for 1973, it had pushed the envelope to a 10 out of 10 in terms of what it showed and how it showed it, it could have gotten away with being a 5 out of 10 in terms of pushing that envelope, and it still would have been the most upsetting and scariest thing that anyone had ever seen. But it chose not to hold back. Right? It chose to go all the way and go for shock, but also like go for meaningful shock. Like, I don't think there's anything that's in this film just for the sake of being in this film, as we've seen with things like, the relationship with the mother passing away and how that affects him and affects his, like, it's not like one of those just pure up gratuitous shots. It's not, again, okay, it's not Human Centipede, right? It's not shocking and awful and terrifying just to be gross and shocking and horrible and terrifying.
I guess,
right?
But it's still like, it's a fine line between, for whatever reason, it's still, uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a big difference between like some doctor who's gonna sew esophaguses into small intestines to connect humans together and create a human centipede. That's there for the sake of like, how gross can we get? Mm-hmm. Right? To hell with story. That's there just for how gross can we get. Whereas The Exorcist didn't leave story on the floor, right? It really conveyed, the horror that Chris was going through and the turmoil that she's going through, the emotional time, and also the crisis of faith that Father Karras is going through, and how that ultimately made him not suitable to be involved at large in the exorcism. And it just, it really, I think did an excellent job for what it is. And obviously is iconic and will be iconic for years and years to come. It's in its 50th anniversary. And I think in terms of cultural impact, I don't think it's any less relevant today than it was. And I kind of foresee that continuing on for years to come. So, yeah. What'd you watch this week?
The only thing I watched was... Oh, come on now. I watched a 2005 film called Flight Plan. It was one of those movies where I was going somewhere where I needed to download something while I was stuck without some Wi-Fi. And so I was like, hey, this is a movie with Jodie Foster, Sean Bean, kind of, mystery thriller, whodunit, what's going on. A bereaved woman and her daughter are flying on a plane, and at 30,000 feet, the child vanishes. No one will admit that they ever saw the child, and it's a movie, where you're kind of wondering the whole time, is this woman just having some mental PTSD things that are going on and, the daughter was never there? Or is this multiple people are conspiring against her and her child is missing? But you know what? I had a bit of higher hopes. It ended up just being a 5 out of 10. It was somewhat entertaining. It was somewhat captivating throughout, going, making you wonder, what am I watching? What is happening here? It could go really multiple different ways. And then the resolution and the tie-off and it kind of wrapping up at the end kind of fell on its face or crashed and burned. So I think its finish really kind of brought it down for me. But, yeah, anytime you've got Boromir in a movie, it captured my attention. So, didn't hold up as much as I'd wanted, but a 5 out of 10. And it could have been a lot better. It had the potentials for, if it had a bit of a better ending, it could have been an interesting gem, but 5 out of 10. What did you watch this week?
I think I told you last week that we watched a movie called The Boogeyman, right? The Stephen King adaptation. So that was good. And then we were on like a little bit of a horror kick. So then after that, obviously we watched The Exorcist. And then I don't think we successfully really watched anything else. So we've been watching Loki. Loki's out. We're still watching Moon Knight.
Oh yeah. Yes.
There was one night where we attempted to watch another horror film. And we put on Spiral, which is like in the same, not a spinoff, but like maybe like in the same universe as, but not one of the main films in the Saw franchise. So like stars Chris Rock and I think Sam Jackson's in it and stuff like that. And I have to be in a really specific mood for that. And even still, like I'm like looking away and feeling nauseous and we got about 5 minutes into it.
Nope. Yeah.
And I just said, do you mind if we watch something else? Like,
yeah.
Like we've watched all the other ones up until that point.
Sure.
Right? There's one in theaters right now. I saw X or whatever's in theaters right now. So we've watched them all up until that point. And that one came out in like 2019. And so that was I think that was like kind of some of the motivation. It's like, wow, this is a series that we've watched together. So let's keep going. But I was just like 5 minutes in, I felt nauseous, felt physically sick. So I was like, no, I don't want to do this.
Not for
and then
me.
we kind of perused Netflix and Disney Plus and stuff like that, trying to find some sort of horror film. We found one on Disney Plus. Again, we watched it for about 5 minutes and we're like, oh, this already just seems stupid. Like it was just tacky and kind of lame. And so then we just like, hey, do you want to watch like a couple episodes of The Simpsons and then go to bed? So that's what we did.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to watch at least one more horror film before Halloween, comes and goes. But it's hard. It's hard to find because there's so much. You could be like, oh, at Christmas time, you're like, oh, let's, this Christmas movie. I don't know anything about it. Let's just throw it on. And you just watch a Christmas movie or a comedy. You're like, I'm in the mood for a comedy. So you just go to the Netflix comedy section and you find a comedy and maybe you find it funny, maybe you don't, whatever. But there's so much, like, especially on the streaming services, there's so much either A, horror that I've never heard of, or B, horror that despite being on Netflix is like very indie, very low budget.
Mm-hmm.
Very poorly written, who gives a shit kind of horror. So it's hard. It's hard to like, you're going through the list and you're like, nah. Because even the stuff you've heard of, it's like horror is a genre where the intention is to sit down and feel horrible. To witness horrible things. And so it can be really tricky when you're like, I kind of want to watch horror, but I don't really know what I want to watch. You're essentially trying to figure out what kind of upsetting, horrible stuff am I in the mood for? And that, at least for me, is very, very, very tricky to pin down. So I don't know. I don't know what we'll watch. Oh, that's not true. We watched the second Nun movie, which just came out.
Ugh.
Yeah, we watched the sequel to The Nun. It was good. I don't think it's as good. It's not the strongest entry in the Conjuring universe. I don't even think I liked it as much maybe as the first Nun. The main MacGuffin in it was a little, it was a cool concept. It was a cool setup. But then I don't think they did enough with the MacGuffin to like really delve into what it is and why it has powers and what exactly those powers are. And so, I totally forgot about that. We watched the second Nun movie. But probably going to look for one more. I'm excited for the new year. Very excited for the new year when we start the Paranormal Activity watch through. Very excited. Thank you again for suggesting and then agreeing to that. That's excellent.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Hey, I have it in audio. I will go back and I'm going to begin every show and I'm going to end every show with that sound clip just so that the good people know.
Speaking of ending the show.
Yeah, wrap it up, sir.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to our spooky episode, whether you are a fan of The Exorcist, whether you're a fan of listening to me squirm, whether you're a fan of horror movies and just wanted to hear us tune in on this classic tale. Thank you for joining us.
I'm a yes for all three of those.
Thank you for joining us. Check out our socials below, our Patreon below, ways for you to get connected with us. And stay tuned for upcoming votes, upcoming releases, and just stay tuned in general. Always a good thing to do.
Yeah, next up we got one more 1990 vote, and then we're done with the 90s.
Yeah.
And we're done with the 90s, and we have one more vote after that, and then we're into Christmas votes. Good Lord.
I know.
Good Lord.
Crazy times.
Yeah, it's gross. You excited for Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.